Hey Divine Ones, it's your girl Jay Arias, and in this video I want to do a deep aura dive on the late beloved young Dolph. So there was a few songs that I really did like of his that I still listen to, but even when he was around still and he was alive, you could just tell, if you're sensitive, I could just tell that he was otherworldly. So I wanted to do a deeper dive on who young Dolph was, and then the story that we got told on how he passed away. I was just like, this man was doing something good and something like that happened. I'm like, there has to be more to this story. So I just want to say that this is my intuitive opinion, psychic opinion, entertainment purposes only. Use your discernment with me. Let's just show him some respect, to really get to know who he was, instead of what they projected or, told us about him. So it's crazy how reading the morphogenic field of someone and reading their aura can tell you so much about their story. So I noticed that he's always had white in quartz within his aura. So this tells me divine connection, angelic protection, and, when he was in his shadow, he could have a savior complex or have a god complex or just be extremely perfectionistic, right? And this energy shows a strong connection to higher realms and purpose. It also carries the frequency of holding himself to impossible standards at times and striving for divine protection or perfection in a human world, right? So then, I had noticed that he has some gold shimmer, and I feel like this was always with him. So this is about divine authority, leadership, higher wisdom, and later on it became tarnished in his aura. Gold represents divine power and protection, but when it appears tarnished, it speaks of ego trials and lessons in humility. It suggests he faced challenges around misusing or misunderstanding his power, perhaps feeling the need to project strength when he was struggling inside. So then I had noticed that he does have the violet purple mixed with the blue. So this automatically tells me that he's an indigo child, that he was mystical, intuitive, artistic. This is about otherworldly connections, being tapped into otherworldly realms and dimensions while you're still here. Deep down, he was wired for truth, psychic awareness, and higher understanding. And there's a sense he balanced light and dark, walking between worlds. Conscious yet surrounded by chaos, basically, and being able to keep his integrity. Was he able to keep his integrity, though? That just came through. Maybe he took the deal. Maybe he did. I don't know. But his throat center was especially powerful, expressing truth through his words and his art. Spiritually, you could say he was woke. His third eye was always open, but he was still learning to anchor it in fully, I believe. The blue around him tells me this is about truth, expression, emotional withdrawal. Usually, if I see this in someone's aura, they originated from the blue flame of the Elohim. Blue shows his desire to express deep truths, yet also hints at isolation in the shadow frequency. He often processed pain alone and may have used escapism to cope, and that also goes along with that violet and that purple. When blocked, this color becomes a signal of retreat or overthinking. And then now moving towards his throat chakra and his heart, specifically more towards his thymus, right? Teal came out in a light turquoise. So this is about emotional creation, manifestation, and boundaries. To him, this tells me that teal reflects the emotional intelligence and creative flow that he expressed through his voice that came from his heart, right? Came from his higher heart chakra as well, singing his higher heart song, sharing that. But as his life intensified, teal faded into more of like a muddy green, and that tells me about, he experienced themes, whether it was him or other people, around emotional toxicity, envy, and the energetic weight of just what fame can bring. It just began to cloud his natural presence and who he was. So then the light turquoise, that tells me he was an emotional healer, a gentle protector. That tells me he was here to emit frequencies to heal people emotionally from what he had gone through. Okay, so this tone shows how his energy soothed others. Okay, through his words and presence, he offered emotional healing, especially to those close to him. And it also connects him to the nation of the Citations. dolphin-like frequencies. That would mean he was compassionate, fluid, deeply feeling, and it would make sense with his name Young Dolph that he chose. And I also pick up on strong Delphinus ties and things like that, and strong Syrian ties for sure. So he carried empathic sensitivity that when unguarded led to burnout and exhaustion fast. Okay, and it's 10:44 on the clock as I'm saying that. So then I noticed this pale yellow that kind of goes into this burnt rusty orange. So this pale yellow tells me that he was very optimistic, very determined, and he was driven to succeed. And especially with that gold shimmer, you can kind of see that as he was kind of always meant to succeed or be in a leadership position that was going to be well known, okay, and hold a lot of meaning, okay? Even in hardship, he radiated inner faith. This is what this pale yellow tells me. This color speaks as someone who believes in their purpose and keeps going no matter what. So there was nothing you could tell him that was going to take him away from his goals. You know what I'm saying? He was very self-contained about what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted. This is the frequency of I'll make it. So then the burnt rusty orange, this shows me about devotion, hard work, self-sacrifice, burnout. This tells me, you know, he's someone who was very hardworking, determined to get ahead, right, to succeed and things like that. Knew how to have a good time, knew how to be serious, knew how to get to business, right? But burnt orange reveals cycles of burnout, overextension, and possibly addictive or repetitive behaviors that drain your vitality over time, okay? So then there was gray when I had looked in his aura. And this, I feel like, is more tied to like unprocessed grief, depression, and emotional stagnation for him. And underneath all the brightness and success lived unhealed sorrow. This layer feels heavy. It felt very heavy when I was tapping into his aura, like suppressed pain or exhaustion that he just didn't show the world. I don't think he ever had a safe place to be vulnerable. So overall, Young Dolph's aura tells a story of a powerful, spiritually gifted soul learning to balance divine purpose with human struggle. His colors show the journey from pure gold and teal light into heavier hues of exhaustion and grief at the cost of caring too much for too long, right? Yet, even though the murkiness, his white and indigo frequencies remain symbols of divine connection and higher mission, still radiating beyond the physical. So I just have to say that is, even though eventually it became murky and more just dense, his aura did, I feel like that came about with what came through as maybe allegedly taking deals and things like that, and just not dealing with your emotions. If you don't deal with trauma, it creates auras, it creates leaks and tears in your aura, and that's how entities or different things can get in and start living and overlaying in your DNA, and you know, that's how possession happens and things like that. So I'm not saying that about Young Dolph, but I do feel like his willpower was swayed. He probably took some deals that, you know, later on he probably regretted after. But that's just my psychic opinion, intuitive opinion. So I hope you guys like this. Much love to Young Dolph. Again, like I said, I love Young Dolph. I didn't know him on a personal level, no, but connecting to his energy, I just feel like he was a sensitive boy who didn't have really much space to be sensitive. But he was very determined and hardworking, and I feel like he always knew he was destined for greatness. So, because that definitely shows. So, Omni-love, absolute healing. If you guys would like an aura rating, get at me, Etsy, Coffee, or just email me. And I am still doing the free aura readings if you're okay with me posting them. You just send me 2 pictures of you, preferably shoulder up, full body. It don't have to be in front of anything white or black, because I can edit that on Canvas, and give me permission to post it. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I love you guys.